At 4:50 a.m., September 24th, 2025, Novorossiysk, Black Sea. Russia's oil port is silent, tankers heavy with crude. Inside the control room, operators sip burnt coffee, eyes on gauges, unaware a storm is coming. 6 meters long, a Ukrainian naval drone cuts through the waves, 300 kilos of explosives, a live camera streaming every move back to a bunker hundreds of miles away. Cost to build, $250,000. Damage potential, billions. For Ukraine, this is the perfect strike. Precise, lethal, unavoidable. For Russia, it's a $3 billion headache waiting to erupt. A few minutes later, radar pings light up, anti-air batteries roar, but they're aiming at ghosts. A decoy swarm of aerial drones had already filled the skies, forcing Russia's Pantsir Is and S-400s to launch missiles at nothing but shadows. The defenders stare upward, convinced the threat is coming from above. Meanwhile, the real danger hugs the waves, skimming just inches over the Black Sea. One Ukrainian naval drone slips through the chaos, silent and lethal. Its path is straight to the Caspian Pipeline Consortium terminal. Inside, workers barely have time to react. The drone detonates against a jetty, a fiery explosion ripping through fuel pumps and rupturing pipelines. A shockwave tears across the harbor, sending crates and debris flying into the water. Moments later, a second drone makes landfall at Transneft's oil-loading pier, the beating heart of Novorossiysk exports. Steel groans and bends, loading arms twisting like flimsy straws, crude gushing into the bay. Alarms shriek, fire hoses sputter, and chaos reigns. 2 civilians die instantly. 6 more are injured as windows shatter across the port. The dock workers and engineers scramble. But the damage is already done. For Russia, it's more than a physical hit. It's humiliation broadcast across the Black Sea. The message is clear. Precision beats size, cunning beats brute force. And a $250,000 drone can make a $3 billion empire bleed. The S-400s finally spot the drones, too late. Missiles streak overhead, turning the empty waves into fire and water spray. The decoys may be gone, but the memory of failure lingers in the radar operator's eyes. Meanwhile, Ukraine's command center, hundreds of miles away, watches every frame of destruction, sipping coffee as if reviewing a spreadsheet. 7:40 a.m. Tuapse, Black Sea coast. Moscow breathes, thinking the worst is over. Then alarms wail again. Another drone, another strike. This time, the Tuapse oil terminal is in the crosshairs. A tanker loading arm erupts in flames, black smoke spiraling skyward like a dark flag of war. Crews scramble, sprinklers fight the inferno, but the damage halts shipments and leaves tankers idling offshore, engines humming but no cargo moving. 2 critical nodes of Russia's oil lifeline, Novorossiysk and Tuapse, are crippled in a single morning. For Moscow, it's more than lost barrels and fire damage, it's a strategic gut punch. Pipelines lie twisted, terminals smolder, and the pride of Russia's energy empire stands exposed. Analysts will later calculate repair costs and economic losses, but in the moment, it's raw chaos. The genius of these strikes lies in timing and misdirection. Decoys, timing, and terrain awareness allowed drones to exploit blind spots, hitting 2 of Russia's most vital terminals, while the defenders reacted to illusions. For Ukraine, it's a textbook demonstration of asymmetric warfare. For Russia, it's a harsh morning lesson. Massive defense networks look impressive until someone teaches them to aim at the wrong thing. By noon, reality sets in. The cold numbers hit like a hammer. The Novorossiysk hub, normally pushing 1.3 million barrels a day into the global market, is dead silent. Tuapse, another 700,000 barrels, frozen in time. Nearly 2 million barrels of daily exports, gone. Even if the shutdown lasts only 24 hours, the ripple is immediate. Traders blink at spreadsheets, recalculating oil flows and futures. Ships wait offshore, engines idling, crews anxious. Pipelines that once hummed like arteries of steel now lie twisted, smoldering, and quiet. For Moscow, it's more than inconvenience, it's a chokehold. Gas stations in southern regions start hanging empty signs. Refinery schedules are thrown into chaos. Military convoys, which rely on a steady fuel supply, find themselves rationing like civilians during a blackout. The optics are worse than the numbers. Social media swells with images of fires, damaged piers, and twisted metal. Headlines across the world read like a nightmare scenario for Russia's energy empire. A few $100,000 in drones just created billions in losses and a reputational hit that can't be insured. The shock isn't merely economic. Psychologically, it's a slap to confidence. Years of infrastructure planning, multi-layer defense networks, and elite anti-air crews can't prevent a handful of drones from humiliating Moscow on its own coast. And if anyone thought the worst was over after a single morning, Tuapse's fate proves otherwise. Vulnerability isn't theoretical, it's tangible, messy, and explosive. This wasn't random chaos. Ukraine's military intelligence ran it like a chess grandmaster, setting a checkmate. Weeks before, analysts pored over U.S. satellite imagery, tracking tanker schedules, pier defenses, radar blind spots, and every inch of coastline. Rehearsals with smaller drones tested timing, speed, and evasive maneuvers. By late September, the plan was locked in. Aerial swarms to distract, naval drones to finish the kill. Precision timing ensured that every missile fired at decoys, every anti-air system engaged at shadows made way for the real threat to slice through unnoticed. It's part of a bigger pattern. Just days ago, over 200 drones swarmed Russia's Baltic port of Primorsk, igniting pumping stations and throttling diesel shipments. Ozluga, another key hub, saw exports drop nearly 25%. September's diesel shipments hit a 3-year low. Moscow's impervious port strategy now reads like a cautionary tale. Global traders feel the tremors, ships reroute, brokers sweat. And somewhere in London, a trader mutters, "Well, that's one way to start the day." Ukraine's approach combines patience, timing, and an understanding that chaos is a weapon. Every decoy, every distraction, every calculated strike is a move in a high-stakes chess game where the pawns are drones and the king is Moscow's pride. For Russia, the lesson is loud, smoky, and inconveniently public. One morning, 2 ports and a few hundred kilos of explosives have rewritten supply chains, disrupted exports, and left strategists questioning every assumption. Meanwhile, Ukraine watches, adjusts, and waits for the next move, proving that in modern warfare, a well-placed drone can do what armies and fleets struggle to achieve. Russia's response was messy. Shelling meant to stop the drones ended up smashing residential buildings, destroying cars, and sending civilians into full panic across Novorossiysk, Tuapse, and even Sochi, tens of kilometers away. In Sochi, authorities evacuated beachgoers mid-morning, turning a sunny stroll into a mass game of musical chairs. The DIU framed it in their usual dramatic fashion. The fight against the shadow oil exports of the aggressor state continues. Cyber Barrageno analysts broke down the video. One marine drone slammed into an oil loading pier in Novorossiysk, another at Tuapse. And the footage captured each explosion like a micro firework. Precise, small, but devastating. The drone's paths were mapped, showing a corridor so clean it would make a garden hose jealous. Weeks of planning met chaos, and Russia's defenses were left scrambling to figure out which way was up. It wasn't the first taste of trouble. Back in August, 5 elite Russian divers had been blown up in Novorossiysk Bay while investigating a drifting Ukrainian marine drone. That memory hung over the morning as officials declared a state of emergency. Residents were told to stay home, vessels barred from leaving Zelenizhsk, and coastal evacuations swept Tuapse and Sochi. Panic became part of the strategy, a bonus effect that Ukraine probably hadn't bothered to measure. The Caspian Pipeline Consortium temporarily halted operations. Their office sustained damage, staff were evacuated, and 2 employees were injured. Civilians not affiliated with the company were among the seriously wounded, a grim reminder that coastal infrastructure has neighbors. Yet, Russia's Federal Maritime and River Transport Agency claimed port infrastructure and ships remained largely untouched, a small win in an otherwise humiliating day. For Moscow, the financial impact was noticeable but not catastrophic. The real headache was social. Roads clogged with evacuees, local governments scrambling to restore calm, and authorities constantly watching the horizon for another drone surprise. It was a masterclass in urban panic management. Neither the Russian Defense Ministry nor Ukraine commented publicly. For Moscow, silence could be strategic. For Kiev, the operation had already succeeded. Temporary disruption, civilian chaos, and a message that the Black Sea coast wasn't untouchable, all delivered with the cold precision of a small, unmanned vessel. By afternoon, emergency measures and damage assessments began, ports gradually reopening, yet the memory of the morning's strikes lingered. Drones had left a mark, shaken nerves, bruised pride, and a reminder that, along the coast, control could evaporate faster than a sunbather at a Sochi beach evacuation. So let's tally the score. Cost to Ukraine: a handful of drones, a few test runs under $1 million. Cost to Russia: temporarily silenced ports, panicked civilians, emergency evacuations from Novorossiysk to Sochi, shelling that flattened cars and buildings, and a credibility hit Moscow won't forget. All makes it clear: the Black Sea isn't untouchable. One morning, 2 ports, and Russia's oil export scrambled by small, clever machines. What do we call it? Operation Black Sea Blaze? Terminal Velocity? The Shadow Fleet Shutdown? Drop your mission names in the comments, and subscribe if you want the inside scoop on how modern warfare is taking place.